Welcome to yet another video in my Alpha 20 in-depth series. If you're new here, this is where we discuss some of the incoming changes in 7 Days to Die Alpha 20, analyse the community response and give my own thoughts on the changes. Once again, any gameplay you're seeing is modded Alpha 19 footage, and you can find all the mods linked in the description if you're interested. Anyway, let's get into today's video. Today we are covering one of the most anticipated features coming in Alpha 20, the random world generation improvements. And to add a bit of context, we're going to compare it to the current map generator and the nitrogen external map generator. So, how is the current world generator for 7 Days to Die in Alpha 19? Well, currently you have the choice of making either a 4K world or an 8K world, and you can input a seed to get something similar to a world you've already seen. Then it takes a good 5 to 10 minutes to generate that world depending on size. But what do you get when you eventually generate it? Well, in short, not much. You'll be seeing some shots of a default random gen world in the background right now. You'll see the terrain is pretty flat, the mountains are all fairly basic, the rivers are essentially non-existent, and the lakes are very boring and poorly placed. As for the POIs, they spawn in what can only be described as very illogical ways. You might see an Old West gun store right next door to the Shotgun Messiah factory. You might find a shooting range next to a hospital. All very strange choices. It is a serviceable world generator, but it is in dire need of improvements. Now, earlier in the video I mentioned the community-made nitrogen map generator. This is an external tool that allows you to generate worlds with incredible amounts of customization. You can choose biome weighting, terrain feature weighting, you can choose the volume of traders, cities, towns, and water features. You can even choose the size of towns and cities, and you can even disable certain types of POIs. And you can also choose to generate multiple maps under the current settings and preview them to make sure you have exactly the world you want. This is how I made the permafrost world. As if all that wasn't enough, you can make a much bigger variation of sizes from 4K all the way up to 16K if your computer can handle it. And to add a cherry on top, generating a 4K or 8K world can take between 30 seconds and 5 minutes. The time to generate varies depending on size and how dense the terrain and POI features are and how many roads you want to generate. The bigger the map and the more terrain features and POIs, the longer it takes. Either way, it's still going to be considerably faster than the base game's generator. If I was to push the nitrogen map generator to its absolute max, it can take up to 15 minutes to generate a 16K world. But 99% of players won't need or be able to run a 16K world completely covered densely with terrain features and huge cities covering the entire map, so that is very much an edge case. So this is what we have available to us now. What is the new in-game generator going to bring in Alpha 20? Well, all the way back in November of 2020, we did see a work-in-progress version of the new map generation screen. This is incomplete and they will add more later, but it shows that at the very least we'll be able to customize POI generation, river spawning frequency, craters, cracks and lakes frequencies, as well as the ability to customize the weightings of different types of terrain. You can give the generator a bias towards plains or hills or mountains, or if you want to increase the randomness of these three, you could weight it towards random. They've also added the ability to make 6K worlds as they found that 4K worlds were far too small, and they're planning to add 10K worlds as well, with the aim being 1 minute of generation per kilometer. This is already a huge step up from the current world generator, but it's still not as customizable or fast as nitrogen. They've also said that they have revamped terrain generation to use a stamp system. What this essentially means is that rather than algorithmically generating every block, it will stamp what they've referred to as hero land features. These are pieces of terrain created manually by designers that are then pasted into the map. So instead of seeing these awful 2002 mountains, we'll see some reasonably well made and designed mountains reused throughout the maps. One good thing about this is that they can continually add more and more terrain features to the box of features they can generate randomly. Some of you may be worried about seeing the same mountain over and over again, but if that does become a common problem, they could simply add more mountains. I would also imagine that there would be at least a few hundred, if not 1,000 different variations of terrain features, so hopefully we shouldn't see the same ones constantly, or at the very least we won't really notice that we're seeing the same ones constantly. Another feature we'll be seeing is better town or city theming. We've seen this spreadsheet which indicates city districts will be coming, so for example you may go down a street and find everything is houses, then on another one it's all factories and utility buildings. This should add some logic to cities. No more shotgun messiah factories across the road from daycares. They've also decided to prioritise performance with these generation changes. They've implemented a system that ensures expensive, that is to say resource intensive POIs generate further apart from each other, with some filler POIs which are less expensive so that players' computers can better handle cities. They've also implemented a system to make the same POIs appear less often near each other, although repetition is inevitable. Their overall goal for this new generation system is to create a random world that has some order to it, so that it looks like a designer has made it. From what I can tell, this would mean that the worlds would likely feel less unique than they do currently, but they would feel like they make a lot more sense. Also, this seems like the best place to tell you guys about the new sidewalk tile sets coming in Alpha 20. These will add sidewalks to the edges of roads in cities and towns, which will have things like fire hydrants and lampposts. This isn't a huge change, but it does add to the immersion at least, and is something a lot of people have been asking for. Just before we jump into the analysis section of this video, if you're enjoying the video and want to see me cover more Alpha 20 topics and news as they come out, then hit that subscribe button. I'll also be continuing my tutorials into Alpha 20, so stick around for that. Anyway, let's get back to the video. So to compare the three world generators, the Alpha 20 world generator will absolutely destroy the current one. So anyone who's been using the Alpha 19 generator will see a noticeable increase in quality, performance, and logic of random worlds. But for anyone using nitrogen, it's not quite that simple. The new generator is not going to be able to compete with the customizability of nitrogen or the speed of nitrogen, but nitrogen most likely won't be able to compete with the cohesion and deliberate look of the new worlds. I do think it is likely though that nitrogen will just adapt with the new systems and utilise things like the stamp tech, in which case it may be a case of nitrogen coming out on top again. I think when I get the choice, I'm going to choose the new generator over the current nitrogen generator because I value an ordered experience rather than the customizability of nitrogen. But one thing we will also have to consider is that 99% of the player base isn't using nitrogen either way, and for many of you this will be the first time you've even heard of nitrogen, so I think this will be mostly a very well received improvement. From what I've gathered from the community, it seems the new random world generation systems are one of, if not the most anticipated feature coming in Alpha 20, and regardless, the map generator is going to be massively upgraded from the current one, from customizability to quality of world generation and performance, and I certainly doubt anyone is going to want to go back to the old one once they've had their hands on the new one. But what about you? Are you excited about this change? Are you just going to switch to nitrogen whenever it's updated for Alpha 20? Do you even play random generated worlds at all? Let us know down in the comments. Anyway guys, if you enjoyed today's video and want to see more videos like this, then be sure to hit that subscribe button and of course the like button. But with that, thank you so much for watching and I'll see you in the next video.